Welcome to the tnAchieves Virtual Community Service webinar. These webinars are designed to provide you, Tennessee Promise students, with an opportunity to learn more about college success tips, careers in your potential field of study, and other topics we think you will find interesting while you are navigating your educational journey. These webinars will also help you complete your community service requirement while it may be difficult for you to do so at this time. A few housekeeping details before we get started. By logging in as a tnAchieves student, we are able to track your attendance and how long you remain actively engaged during the webinar. Once you complete the webinar, you will automatically be given credit for 1 hour of community service. We will track how long you watch, and if you do not watch the webinar in its entirety, you will not receive credit. You do not need to complete the community service form for these webinars. tnAchieves will log your hours for you. tnAchieves staff and partners across the state are providing important insight and information we think you will find entertaining and informative. We hope you enjoy this new series of webinars.
All right, thank you. I'm so excited about this panel. When I started as the intern over 10 years ago, my first assignment was to research summer programs. So I did, and out of that came the Summer Bridge program. And then from what we've learned from that came our Summer Institute. So both two programs I feel very close to, and I'm really excited about our panelists today. I'll introduce you guys just briefly, and then we'll jump right in. So we have a good mix of people on our panel. Dr. Faulkner is the Vice President of Student Affairs at Southwest Community College. They host both of our summer programs. So excited to have her with us today.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, of course. And then we've got Professor Haga, who has taught the math portion of our Summer Bridge program at Northeast State since we've been doing the program there. So you've been with us a few years as well and have really gotten to know the program a lot and helped us develop the math curriculum or just math curriculum based on some feedback that we've gotten and make it really powerful. So thank you for being here with us today. We've got Ellie Sieberman, who's one of our managing complete coaches in the Nashville area. So she's run some of our Summer Bridge programs before at Columbia State. And then we have two students with us today. We've got Karen, who was a Summer Institute student at Southwest, and then Victoria, who did the Summer Bridge program at Columbia State Community College. So thank you all for being here. We're really, really excited. Dr. Faulkner, we'll start with you. We'll jump in since Southwest does have both programs and you've been super involved in both of those. Can you speak to what these programs mean at Southwest and how you think they've impacted the college?
Absolutely. Both the Summer Bridge program and the Summer Institute have been pivotal to Southwest in our ability to help students accelerate through their learning support classes. As we know, a high number of our students come with learning support needs. And research consistently shows that the longer a student stays in learning support, the lesser their chances or their probability of college completion is, because students really want to see that they're tangibly working toward their degree and can actually see the college credit. So even once we were able to get students enrolled, if they had to deal with the learning support during that first semester, again, it has a way of decreasing their interest and their connection because they don't really see that the work that they're doing is actually leading toward college credit. This has allowed us to accelerate that, to keep them engaged, to connect them during the summer. And one other point is just to help with conversion. We have a great relationship with our K through 12 partners here in Shelby County and in Fayette County. But despite their best efforts to help students meet the college admissions requirements, complete the FAFSA, stay on task with eligibility during all of the milestones for Tennessee Promise, summer happened. And when summer happened, oftentimes students just became disengaged, and in the fall, they did not enroll. This allowed us to keep students actively involved in learning, increasing their academic skills, and preparing for fall. And so we were able to see a major shift in our conversion in some of our high schools where we had not seen much traffic, to actually see those students enroll in Southwest in the fall. And not only enroll, but I'll talk about later, complete.
Yeah, absolutely. Talk to me about specifically the Summer Institute. This is the 10-week program that we've been doing, started in 2017, and how that has impacted your students.
Sure. We are so excited about the partnership that we have with Tennessee Achieves. And when I think about what Summer Institute means for our institution and for our students, think about every national best practice associated with higher education, student success, every high impact practice that we know works. Think about all of those rolled into one, because that's exactly what we do during the course of that summer. First of all, it's a built-in learning community. And we know that learning communities work. Tried and true, very proven learning communities are considered a high impact practice. We build in a learning community. So students are all enrolled in the same classes. They matriculate together, they study together, they eat together. It is truly cohort driven. Then every imaginable wraparound support that can be provided to students is provided during the course of that summer. So we see our students not only complete that program at higher rates, but they begin ready, because many of the things that students encounter during that very first semester of college is addressed during the summer. First of all, they're trying to figure out a sense of belonging. So I want to know that I matter. I want to know that someone cares. So you have that caring faculty and staff that's there to support them. Secondly, they have the built-in academic support, whether it's through tutoring or supplemental instruction. So that happens. You also have students who build that community of support with their peers, because they're all in the same program. And I'm sure Karen will speak to this. They get to know each other. They start to support each other. They study with each other. And that builds in the fall. When they come in the fall, they already have some individuals that are there to support them. They know the resources. Much of what happens during that first semester is just navigational. Students don't know what to ask. And when they figure out what to ask, they don't know who to ask. And so this gives them that resource, that connection already, that when the fall happens, they know the offices, they know advising, they know tutoring, they know counseling, they know the offices that will help them be successful.
I agree. Yes, with Summer Institute, we really follow that mantra of it takes a village. I feel like on the emails preparing for Summer Institute, there are like 25 people, because we've got to have people from every office, and everybody's really connected and involved in that program. So it's really fun.
Yes.
And as a participant in Summer Institute, can you tell us how you feel like that program better prepared you for the fall?
Yes. So one of the things that I do want to point out is that it did help me, in fact, both socially and also academically. Because when I first came into that program, I'm pretty sure like a lot of us were like, this big step, I guess you can say that. And I was one of them. I was not ready for this big step. I was like, why am I even in here? Like, I was like, all of the negative thoughts were in my mind. So the first week came and I was still nervous, but as the program goes by, you kind of like break that shell like step by step. And I believe like the professors, in fact, they also helped a little bit, because how outgoing they were and stuff like that. It kind of helped us break our shells a little bit more. And also with the students, like as it was mentioned, that we will all eat together, and that's how we like communicate with each other, like with each other, of course. And it was really nice. I actually did enjoy the program, so it was worth giving a try.
Good. I'm glad you feel that way. It is 10 weeks, as we've mentioned, so that does take up the majority of your summer. So talk to me about how you decided to participate in the program. Was it something that you weighed the pros and cons, or did you just think I need to do something over the summer? Or what was it that made you sign up for the program and then stay motivated for the entire 10 weeks?
So what really motivated me was the fact that I was having doubts with myself whether if I really wanted to go to college or not. So my thing was, okay, it's just 10 weeks. It goes by fast. Try it. And I did. And it worked, because at the end of the day, I'm still in college. And honestly, I don't regret taking that 10 weeks of that program, because it was worth it. It was really worth it. And I would like look around and see other students, how like frustrated they were. And I was like, well, the good thing about it is that for the next fall, we won't be going through that stage. So that's how we were prepared with that. And what kept me motivated was the fact that I would look like to the side of me and I would see my parents, especially my mom. And I was like, well, you're my biggest motivation. So I kept it going. I kept it going.
That's great. So what is your major now? How are your classes going now that you're over a year past completing the Summer Institute?
So I'm currently in business administration. I was also having some doubts of what career to take, but definitely the Summer Bridge program actually helped me a little bit on what I want to do. And that's my career choice. And my classes, they're going pretty good actually, even though this pandemic changed a lot of things, you know, all into Zoom classes or Microsoft Teams. It was a whole chaos, but we were able to, you know, travel along with it and keep us in contact and all that stuff.
It's hard to figure out what you want to do with your life, so you're doing good, hanging in there.
Yes.
Transitioning a little bit to Summer Bridge program, Professor Haga, what keeps you coming back to teaching the program? So you've been doing it since 2015. What do you love so much about it, and what keeps you coming back?
Thanks, Jackie. I have been teaching in the Summer Bridge program at Northeast State since 2015, and I think what I enjoy the most is just the challenge from an instructional perspective to try to get students up to a college level in a 3-week program in which basically you have 13 class meetings to teach algebra, geometry, and statistics. That's a challenge. But I think the thing I enjoy the most is the interaction with the students. I know I was a first-generation college student, and I can remember back in the 1980s when I attended college, how overwhelming that was for me as a first-generation college student. And many of our students at Northeast State are in the same boat. And so being able to make them aware of services that are on campus and to help them believe in themselves that they can do this, they really have the ability to do it. And that's the thing I think I enjoy the most is helping them to realize that they can accomplish this, that they can be successful in college, and that they can begin a path to build a better life for themselves and their families.
Well, the majority of our students participating in Bridge, I know, really need that. So we're lucky to have you. At Northeast, the professors do something a little bit different than some of our other schools. They kind of form a group, meet every day to talk about how all students are doing. So talk to me about how you guys work together during the program.
Yes. During the Lunch and Learn, students meet with different speakers, some from the community, people like Miles Burdine, who shares some very motivational stories from his life, and also staff members at Northeast State from the admissions office, financial aid, our student needs program, which helps to address socioeconomic factors impacting student success. I'll speak on that just for a moment. Student needs, we started that program 8 years ago, and it attempts to address those socioeconomic factors such as food security. We have a gas certificate program. We have a student emergency fund scholarship to assist students with unexpected expenses, for instance, car repairs, utilities. We have a webpage listing over 100 community resource agencies. So Lunch and Learn informs our students about the various programs that are available so that as they transition into the college life, then they are aware of these programs and don't feel isolated and alone or overwhelmed. But to address your question, a couple of years ago, the instructors in the Summer Bridge program decided to start meeting in a group setting during lunch just to brainstorm strategies on how to teach better, how to connect better with these students, and just share ideas. And that has been transformational for our success rates at Northeast State, because the first year I taught this, it was overwhelming. You have so much material to cover in 13 class meetings, and it's easy to isolate yourself as an instructor and feel overwhelmed. But by coming together as a team of faculty, we motivate each other, we inspire each other, we can collaborate more effectively. And I think that's made a huge difference for us. In the past 2 years, Northeast State has actually led the state in the number of students who tested out of either reading, writing, or math. And I like to attribute that to the team effort that we've developed.
I think
I can jump in.
I was going to ask, I think it's a best practice that we've kind of
absolutely a best
done
practice.
in Southwest too. So talk about that.
Yeah, it is absolutely a best practice. And again, when I talk about that wraparound support, it means completely wrapping around that student. And so we create what we consider a circle of support. And it includes not only the supplemental instruction leader or a tutor, it includes the faculty, it includes who I like to call the Summer Institute champion, Dr. Vernita Boone, who is the director there at the Whitehaven Center. But those individuals come together and they work through any challenges that our students are facing. And even because these are college credit courses for Summer Institute, during that annual performance report, or that performance report where we review at 3 weeks, we actually come in and figure out if we need to create an individualized success plan for students. So if we need to correct course, because what we know is if they are willing to give up their 10 weeks in order to be there, in order to try to accelerate and to complete during the summer, we're willing to provide every necessary tool and resources we can to help them be successful. And so we look at that 3-week juncture to see if there's a need to increase tutoring, if there's a need to increase. And what we made after the second year, those lessons learned, is that Friday was an optional, and we would have students who needed some additional assistance and academic skill enhancement to come in on Fridays to be tutored or get some supplemental support from our faculty. So that team model, David, I can't underscore the importance of that in meeting student needs.
I agree. It is something that the professors that are part of the program, or all the faculty that are part of the program, it's so much more than teaching.
Yes.
And these two programs are really about getting the right people. It's not every professor that would like to teach this program or would do well and be able to help our students as much as the ones that you guys have been able to find for us. So,
and a part of that is just identifying developmental spaces. You know, I often say, and we know in the higher education world, once a student enrolls in college, FERPA comes in, and that we assume that that student is the owner of their own records and they are self-directed. And we often say what separates that student in May from June is 1 month.
yes.
They just graduated high school. So it requires that type of professor who understands and will understand those developmental stages and help students work through them while they are still meeting the core competencies required to complete that class successfully. And so we've been very successful in been able to identify that special mix of individuals who understand student needs at that juncture.
Yeah, absolutely. So Victoria, tell me about your experience at the Summer Bridge program. How did it help you feel more prepared for your first semester of college?
The main way that it personally helped me become prepared was with being able to connect with the professors on a personal level, because once the class teaching was over, we had some time to communicate with what they're simply making for dinner or whatnot. It was just a great experience to be able to connect with them and learn what to expect for the upcoming semester in college. So it was a great experience, especially with the teaching aspect. It helped you know, it helped you become familiar with what the college format would be like. And as for math, we did this website called My Labs, which we ultimately used in Math Now for my course, which has helped me become familiar with the whole just class as a whole, which is great. It gives you great experience to become prepared. So
yeah, I think your high school teachers are really different than your college teachers, right? And
yes, definitely.
it's a learning curve to get familiar with that. So the Bridge program and Summer Institute are some really great ways to sort of jump in there with a little more support behind you.
Yes.
A little easier. Professor Haga, have you ever had students from the Bridge program participate in your class the following semester? And if so, are they more prepared? Do you feel like they are ready for that math class?
Yes, I have had several students in my college level classes that I originally met in Summer Bridge. And there's just a level of confidence that they possess. Number one, they have that relationship with me already. They know that I care and that I'm going to be there to support them. And they're just more familiar with the college and the services that are available. I know one student that sticks out in my mind in Summer Bridge, lacked confidence. He and his family had moved around a lot in life. They had actually been homeless on a few occasions. And so he had some gaps in his mathematical knowledge, yet through the Summer Bridge program, I saw him gain confidence, and he was actually in one of my college level classes as well. And the last I talked to him, he was hoping to, his goal was to be flying fighter jets for the Air Force. So his confidence grew exponentially. And that's always exciting to see.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. Karen, can you tell us about your experience with Institute, some of the professors and how they helped you feel more confident as a college student?
Yes. So one of the things that it was mentioned about like the transition of a high school teacher and a professor, one important thing that I did learn today, it has to be submitted on that date. There's no way to curve that around. So basically, time myself on trying to be like, beat the due dates, turn stuff on time, always do that. And one of the things that they did taught me was the fact that I just basically had to like, if I had some questions going on, I'll always come for a tutor and ask for help. Like if the professor is not helping you enough or you don't understand it in some way, there's tutors that can, break it down for you if you don't understand the first time. Also, you can ask like your college mates and stuff like that. But we all know sometimes they're like, I'm sorry, I gotta go. I was like, okay, fine.
I think taking advantage of tutoring is something we talk to students so often about, and it seems scary to go and ask for a tutor, and it seems like more time, but honestly, if you work with your tutors, then it's likely to save you some time because they know how to target what to study. And I just think both of these programs talk a lot about the importance of that, getting to know your professors. So those are really great resources. Ellie, I'm finally going to give you a chance to talk. So
yay, so excited.
Tell us about the role that you play leading the Summer Bridge programs as the tnAchieves representative and what your favorite part about it is.
So aside from just kind of making sure that the program runs smoothly every day and there's no issues, one of the main things I do on campus is just make sure that every student participating in the Bridge program leaves 100% buttoned up for the fall semester. So I end up getting to work really closely also with financial aid offices, admissions staff, and advisors on campus, just to make sure that any student that does have an outstanding requirement gets it completed during the Summer Bridge program. We work really hard to make sure that orientation is completed during Bridge. So ideally, students might not even have to go back to campus by the time the program is over. Specifically at Columbia State, we actually started a financial aid Fridays tradition. So during lunch every Friday, I would pull groups of students in to go work with financial aid coordinators on their verification requirements and all those sorts of things. But I would say my favorite part of Bridge is really just, it's been touched on by pretty much everyone, but just watching the transformation that students go through in such a short amount of time. It's funny to look back on the first day of, I guess the first 2 days of the program, once it's all over. Students always come in like not really talking to each other, pretty timid, kind of keeping to themselves. And by the end of the program, they'll be walking into lunch, laughing with their professor, and they've built that relationship, which as a coach, I feel like throughout, especially the first semester, so much of what I'm trying to encourage students to do is talk to their professors and use the resources on campus. And it's kind of cool. I think Bridge and Institute both kind of just rip that Band-Aid off for students that participate. So they start their freshman year already comfortable talking to professors and using tutoring and talking to financial aid, all that kind of stuff. So that's my favorite.
Yeah, we sort of got it as having a captive audience. These students are coming in every day, so we've got to help them with everything that we can possibly help them with. And it's usually the time right before school. Well, it's always the time right before school starts, a few weeks right before school starts, where every student needs something. And whether it's financial aid or admissions or whatever it may be, we're checking in with them constantly. So that is something that's good to be able to do. I wish we could do with every one of our tnAchieves students, honestly. So to be able to do that with the 800 to 1,000 students we serve every summer is really fun. So we've touched a little bit about on the Lunch and Learn. So obviously both of these programs are more than just the academic piece, but you're also learning a lot about everything that has to do with the college, and also hearing from people in the community about opportunities available. So does anybody want to tell me one of their favorite Lunch and Learns that they have heard? I know the students go to all of them. Some of the professors go to them. Ellie, you've probably seen them all. And Dr. Faulkner, I think you've even been a Lunch and Learn speaker. So tell me about, I guess you can't say yours was your favorite, but
why not?
yeah, I mean, I guess you can. I'm sure it was awesome.
Yeah.
Someone wants to touch on maybe their favorite Lunch and Learn speaker they've heard over the programs that you've been part of.
Probably not one of the most important, but one of the ones that were most helpful to me was there was an individual that came in and showed us how to navigate throughout the college website. Because at first, when I took a first glance before even going to the Bridge program or whatnot, I was like, oh my gosh, this is so much. How do I even navigate to find register for classes? But individual came and showed us how to do every step, which was really helpful to be prepared to actually register for classes and whatnot.
That is really interesting that was your favorite. You don't think about how that can be so confusing, but it is. It's learning one more portal, one more thing, and there's so much on those college websites that you've got to learn how to navigate, and it's all happening at the beginning of the semester when everything else is also happening.
Yes.
How about you, Karen? Did you have any favorite I know we don't do as many Lunch and Learn speakers at with Summer Institute, but anything that you found interesting?
One of the things that I did, well, I don't quite remember his name, but all of the participants, they were all motivating us. They were all motivated us throughout the whole thing. But one of them in particular, I think I was going to that stage where I was, all my friends from high school, they all went to University of Memphis or any other university. They went out of Memphis, and I'm just here okay. So I was really doubting myself on whether if I wanted to still stay at Southwest. But this particular speaker came to us and spoke about how he owns his business and all that stuff. And he even mentioned, you think I most of it came from this university or this and this and that, but in reality, I came out from Southwest. Basically, he taught me that don't look down on something because at the end of the day, it's you that's basically representing. So that's one of the lessons that I did kind of like stick in my head. And I was like, well, it's not where you came from, it's more like what you make out of it at the same time.
Absolutely. That is an
jump in from Karen's statement.
yes.
Interesting story. We require a parent orientation for all participants in the Summer Institute, and I'm always a speaker at that parent orientation. First of all, to show that we are supporting their students and helping them. We know that it's a sacrifice during the course of the summer, but we're supporting them every step of the way. But also just to kind of tell them what to expect. And I always start that presentation by asking, how many of you plan to enroll in Southwest for the fall? Because it's not, as you see, Karen remembers, it's not a requirement that once you complete the Summer Institute or the Summer Bridge that you remain at that institution. So I always ask that question without failure. Only about 10% of the students raise their hands and say, yes, I'm going to be here in the fall. And I always tell them, well, by the time we finish loving and supporting you and making you feel a part of this Southwest family, I will see you all in the fall. And we have had consistently 90 to 100% conversion every summer of Summer Institute that end up at Southwest during the course of that fall.
It's so funny. It's the same with Bridge. So many people plan to go on to a four-year school or go somewhere else, and then end up converting during the 3 or 10 weeks, deciding, because you just feel supported and you're like, I think I can do this here. I feel more comfortable here, and it's a little less intimidating. So that's so true. Do you want to talk about your favorite speaker?
Well, I think Karen actually touched on it as well. I don't know that I have a favorite speaker, but we actually use that time to ensure that students have all of their requirements met. So they meet with several people throughout the institution about what are their needs and also how can they be supported through the rest of their matriculation. But I will say probably the one that's most beneficial for some of our students is career services, because oftentimes students come to us not really sure of that major. So it gives them that introduction to career inventories, career counseling that can help them make informed decisions, so that once they get through the learning support and gain those 18 hours during the summer, during the fall, they actually can be moving toward completion and meeting those academic requirements of their major. So just really starting knowledgeable of what is the degree that you plan to finish. And I think Karen talked about being a business major and having to discover if that was her true niche. I think that career services talk and what happens thereafter is just pivotal to their future success. So I enjoyed that particular workshop often.
Yeah, I think that's a great one, and such a great resource that the colleges have that can be, if you were to do that outside of the college, it can be so expensive. And the fact that it's free for every student, and honestly, it's really hard at that age to know what you want to do. So for them to be able to have those resources and those counselors, it's super helpful. Professor Haga, do you have a favorite? You mentioned Miles Burdine. He's such a great speaker. So we love that he comes and participates every year. Do you have any other ones that you've particularly enjoyed?
Miles Burdine sticks out. He is with the Chamber of Commerce in Kingsport. He's on the Board of Regents. I've listened to him every year, and it's always motivational. Stories he shares from his life in the military, overcoming adversity, which is such an important lesson, not just for our students, but for all of us as human beings. And he's just always very inspirational and one of the favorite speakers, even for our students. So really grateful for Miles and his work with the Summer Bridge program.
How about you, Ellie? So I love all of them, but one of the favorites the past 2 years has been, his name is Rob Tudor, and he actually works for Nashville State. He's the director of IT Partnership Solutions and Student Placement, but he comes to Columbia State to talk during Bridge. And he gives this really fun interactive presentation. I think what he calls it is like like tips to help students be successful in college, like very broad. But one thing he spends a lot of time on is time management, but he doesn't approach it in the sense of like school and classes. He talks about it in terms of planning spring break, and he basically makes everyone work with him and make decisions on how they're going to plan their spring break. And everyone has so much fun with it and kind of gets pretty into it on how they're going to be planning their spring break, and what kind of trip they'll be taking. And of course, at the end, he kind of brings it all together and shows how much fun and what a different trip you have when you plan ahead and plan things accordingly versus a last minute trip. But it's fun to watch everyone because, of course, in the moment, no one's thinking we're going through this time management activity. But by the end of it, I think it is super helpful and everybody does get really involved. And he's done it the past 2 years and it's been really cool to watch. So I really enjoy that one.
Yeah, I want to see that one. We'll have to come to Columbia State next year.
For sure.
If we're able to do it. So we do sometimes have trouble convincing a lot of students that I feel like the pool of students that could participate in Bridge or Summer Institute is so large, and the number of students who actually do is so much smaller than I wish it was. We typically have around 800 to 1,000 participate, and I think it could be like 4,000. So Karen and Victoria, let's start with you guys. How would you convince people that are graduating from high school, students that are graduating from high school, to participate?
Me personally, I would tell them my experience and how well it prepared me for college. The main reason that I personally enrolled in the Summer Bridge program was to not be behind in the fall, because I did not want to have to take the learning support classes that would take up time for courses that I could take while for my major. So I would give them that piece of advice to prepare them and not have them be behind while they could be working on their courses for their major.
We will continue to use that we just need you to come and tell all the students. We'll have to record that video and send it out. About you?
Just like Victoria said, tell like my experience and all that stuff. But one thing I would point out is the fact that always mention that it's free and that it helps you with your college credits. Definitely. And also for students that weren't ready like me, always point that out. It helps you out if you like college, if you're ready for college. If not, just keep in mind that you can also go back and use those credits later on in life as well.
Also free, right? That seems to be a game changer. Lunch every day.
Yes, lunch every day.
We always tell students we have Chick-fil-A, we've got pizza, come learn. Food is always a motivator. So we have a couple of questions that we have been asking on every panel that I want each of you to answer. So the first one is, what is a lesson that you learned in your first job? So I'm talking about real first job, not first like grown-up job. Not that you guys have had one yet because you haven't graduated, but I worked at McDonald's when I was 14. And I learned that I did not want to work at McDonald's the rest of my life. So tell me what your first job was and what's one of the lessons that you learned?
My first job was at a smoothie shake place in Spring Hill Nutrition called Power Up Nutrition. And the lesson that I learned from that job was how to communicate properly, because I myself was a very shy person that did not like to put myself out there and communicate with others. So communication was a big lesson that I learned within my first job, and it has actually helped me within college communicating with professors and fellow students. So communication for sure.
Hey, you're doing great with it.
Thank you.
Yeah. How about you, Karen?
One of the things that I did learn from my first job, it was like, I think it was 2 to 3 years. It's been a while. I'm just kidding. It was at this frozen yogurt place called Very, Very Good. And it was my first job ever. I remember the first day I was nervous. I was like, oh God, I'm gonna mess up all this stuff. But it went well. I did learn to be patient and also to understand the clients and what they want and kind of help them out on and guide them what they might want. But it's not the job that I would say I hate it. No, in fact, it inspired me to actually own my own business and see how things go and run, you know? So I actually learned a few things from it, but those are like the two things that I did learn from it.
Any customer service job, I feel like incredibly important.
Yeah.
How about you, Professor Haga?
My first job when I was in college, I worked as a custodian. I cleaned carpets, I cleaned toilets to put myself through college because back in the day we didn't have tnAchieves. And so that was my first job. The lessons I learned: show up, you work hard, and opportunities will present themselves. And it reminds me of wise words that I shared with my students today in Zoom class. The dictionary is the only place where success comes before work. S comes before W. And that's true. You work hard in life, and then amazingly at times opportunities present themselves. So that was my first job, cleaning toilets.
Hard work can get you a long way. And I bet you still use that skill.
Well, I probably, do I still use my skills of cleaning toilet? Is that?
That's a good life skill to have. I don't know.
I guess.
Dr. Faulkner, what was your first job?
My first job was in my family's very small mom and pop shop restaurant, and very small community in rural Mississippi. And what the thing that I learned, because I actually essentially ran it with my father, was the power of relationships. And it was a small business, it was community based, but he treated people so well until the product was great, I will say that, but I think they came back more for the way that he treated them and that we treated them. And so that has served me not only in that job, but even how I approach student success and my work with my students. I was fortunate about 15 years ago to attend a Disney Institute of Business Excellence. And they pretty much chronicled that Walt Disney doesn't do a lot of advertising. We see probably more advertising from Disney World and Disneyland than we've ever seen of recent, but they've traditionally not done a lot of advertising, yet they were the feature of the world. Everyone wanted to go to Disneyland, Disney World. And the principle was, if you treat people well, they will return and they will bring their friends. And so I approach even my work with students. I believe that we do hard work to support our students, but if I can have a Karen tell the story of how Southwest supports and loves and helps them reach completion, she's going to go back and tell her friends. She's going to tell people in her community base. She's going to tell people from her high school that you can be supported, you can be successful, you can change your life at that institution. So just that whole notion of relationship building was what I learned at my first job with my father.
Yes, networking, relationship building, you cannot do enough of. I think that's so important. How about you, Ellie?
I worked at Edible Arrangements, making those nice little fruit flower bouquets that everyone gets. And I learned how to like speak up and the importance of asking questions. I was 16 when I worked there, and for some reason they would trust me in that store by myself to do literally everything, which was certainly not what I thought I was signing up for. And so it was really overwhelming at first. And I definitely tried at 16 to like run this little franchise store. And it didn't go very well my first week. I got a call basically chewing me out about all the things that I did wrong. And I had to learn nobody's going to come and hold my hand at this job. And it's time to speak up and ask questions if I don't know what to do so that I can be successful and not make these mistakes. And it served me well. I feel like I'm always asking questions even to this day. So definitely speaking up for yourself and being prepared for sure.
The fruit on those things is delicious.
Yeah, I made a lot of them.
It's like always so good. I mean, better than I get at the grocery store.
Absolutely.
Good job, Ellie. Good job.
We order it very fresh. Trust me.
Awesome. So my next question for you guys is that this is one of 14 panels that we've had this week, or that we are having this week, celebrating the sending over 100,000 students to college. So a really exciting milestone for us. What is one piece of advice you would have for the next 100,000 students that go through Tennessee Achieves? Start with you, Dr. Faulkner.
Sure. Take advantage. Take advantage of this opportunity. We're very blessed and fortunate in the state of Tennessee to have a state that believes in the importance of continued education. So much so that we have a program, access programs like Tennessee Promise and Tennessee Reconnect. And I would love to see every student who comes through our high school pipeline take advantage of some post-secondary education. Karen mentioned earlier that if even after those 18 hours, if she decided she did not want to continue during the fall, she always had those 18 hours as a foundation whenever she decided to return. And that's important. So even if you don't want to go to a four-year institution, know that education and training looks very different. It's very broad and it's comprehensive. It can be a technical program. It can be an associate's degree. It can be an industry certification, but take advantage of this wonderful opportunity that has been afforded to you through the state of Tennessee.
A lot of states want to be just like us. So.
Absolutely.
Such a great opportunity. How about you, Karen?
Well, the same thing as it was mentioned. Take advantage of it, you know, because one thing I do kind of do say to my friends is like, if you have the opportunity right there in front of you, take it. Or learn from it, then go on ahead and regret it later on. So definitely take advantage of the program, because you never know what opportunities may open to you in the future.
Yep. Now, how about you, Victoria? What's your piece of advice?
My piece of advice would obviously be take advantage of it. I would also say that this is a great opportunity to invest in a planner and become familiar with how to write what is due and when it is due, and become organized for the upcoming semester for college.
Yes, the biggest thing we hear from our students is issues with time management. So I know that our coaches speak a lot to students about a planner. So really great advice. How about you, Professor Haga? What's your advice?
Advice to the next 100,000. We will face many fears in life, and going to college can be fearful for many students. Remember these wise words. Courage is not the absence of fear, but the conquest of fear. We all face fears, and you will throughout your life. But the reality is you are stronger than you believe, that as a human being, you have intrinsic worth and you have a purpose. And the purpose of life is a life of purpose. So I encourage you to find your purpose. Invest in education. Ben Franklin once said, an investment in knowledge pays the best interest. Wise words. That's what I would say to the next 100,000.
I love all your quotes. Thank you. Ellie, what are you going to tell our next 100,000 students?
So Victoria stole my thunder on the planner. I'm a huge planner organization person, but I'll change it up. I think my piece of advice instead would just be getting really comfortable asking for help, and just remembering that it's not a sign of weakness to ask for help or use the resources that you have available to you. Whether it is help, managing your time or even just changing your major. It's okay to seek out help when you need it. It's not something to be embarrassed about. I feel like that's what I hear a lot from first-time freshmen, is that they feel embarrassed to ask for help. Don't. That is what literally everyone is here to do, is to help you. And don't spend too much time trying to figure things out on your own when you could just use what's available to you.
Yes, I think asking for help can be super scary, and especially in your first semester of college, especially when you're in a new place. It can be really scary, but everybody wants to help, so that's a really, really important thing for new students to understand. So tell me, I know you, Victoria and Karen, you guys are in college now, but the rest of us all went to college. Tell me what your favorite part of college has been.
Oh, I would say honestly just meeting like-minded people that are in the same major as I am, so we can study together and go over the material within classes, and becoming familiar with faces that I didn't know throughout high school, and just making more connections with more people.
Yeah, study groups, so much more fun than studying by yourself, right?
Yes.
Karen, what about you?
My favorite part was, well, still is the fact that I'm still at Southwest, where I feel more like family, yeah, definitely that. I feel welcome. And I was also able to make some friends, and also like have this strong connection with my professors as well too. So yeah, I'll say that's what I got from it. And yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. Chrissy, did we have some questions from the audience?
We do have some questions, but I would be remiss if I didn't say I wanted to bottle up the time management, get a planner piece. Like, that made my whole week, Victoria. All such good information. But if I could just cut out that piece of information and send it to every 100,000 students that we've worked with and the next 100,000 students, it would be a dreamy space for me. So much great information. One question in particular, many of the participants on today's session serve as volunteer mentors. Any advice for our mentors on how to engage students? So for those of you who work with students, any advice, and then from the students specifically? Jackie, you want to kick us off?
Sure. I was waiting on David. It's a difficult conversation. I will say that, because students literally see their friends spending that last summer before college. And they see traveling, and that's one of the main reasons, Chrissy, as you know, the reason that we do that parent orientation, so that students have a clear understanding of what are the expectations. But what I always share with them are the outcomes and what they will see in August when they complete this program. Yes, it is a sacrifice on the front end. Yes, it is 3 weeks or 10 weeks of your time. However, while your friends are enjoying that camping trip, or going out of state, or going to Disney, as an example, you are earning 18 hours and essentially completing an entire semester of your year, of your college career, saving yourself thousands of dollars and potentially increasing your lifetime earnings, because the sooner that we can accelerate you through this first semester, the sooner you complete. And that's one thing I can't stress enough, is that we see of those students that have gone through Institute that they are completing in 4 semesters. They are completing in 5 semesters. They are transferring on to their 4-year baccalaureate programs or going into the workforce. So it is an investment, but if you come along and invest your time, we will invest in you. And so just see the end result, not necessarily just what you will be missing during the course of this summer, because we're going to make it as fun as possible. But what is the end result?
Yeah, no, it's free. We feed you. And there's a 96% success rate with Summer Institute. Like, what more do you need, right?
Absolutely, yeah. I wish we could skywrite that and it would resonate, because that's essentially what it's all about. You are going, if you come in and do your part, you're going to be successful.
Absolutely. Any advice for me, David? Yeah, no, we won't let you fail. David, how about you? Any advice?
I think just as a mentor, encouraging a student to participate either in Summer Bridge or Summer Institute, just emphasizing the importance of education. As I said before, I was the first in my family to attend college. Here in Northeast Tennessee, the 5 counties that we serve, the poverty rate is higher than the state poverty rate. It's higher than the national poverty rate. And so as a mentor to these students, I just get real. It's like, look, what do you want your life to look like? What environment do you want to live in? What neighborhood do you want to be able to live in? What neighborhood or environment do you want your children and your grandchildren to be living in? And so I'm blunt, I get real. So I think as a mentor, anything you can do to promote the importance of education, whether that be the Summer Bridge or Summer Institute, it transforms lives. We know that. And so we just need to somehow communicate that to our students. Absolutely.
I think we're in the business of cycle breaking work, right? Vicious cycles that have plagued families across our country. This is cycle breaking work. And I believe these summer programs are a huge difference maker in taking students from low income backgrounds or taking students who have all the potential in the world that just need a little extra support and really provide them with something that is game changing for them long term. So this has been a wonderful, enlightening, fantastic, all the great adjective panel. Thank you all so much for, number one, the digging in piece. Ellie is just a dream human being to have on the Tennessee Achieves staff. I wish I could clone her. To have partners like Jackie and David on our team is amazing. And Victoria and Karen, you both were dreams. So I'm going to turn it back over to Jackie to close us out. But I just want to say how appreciative I am. And 100,000 students, on to the next ones.
It's amazing. Congratulations, Tennessee Achieves.
Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you guys so much for taking your time today to participate in our panel. We very much appreciate you. And I'm so thrilled that you've been part of our summer program. So thank you again.
Thank you.
Have an awesome evening.
Thank you for watching this installment of the Tennessee Achieves Virtual Community Service webinar. Your attendance will be automatically recorded and your 1 hour of community service is being credited to you. Please click Submit on this screen to ensure that your attendance is recorded for you. For this community service opportunity, you will not need to complete the community service form. We hope you found this opportunity to be engaging and informative. Please watch more of this series by visiting www.tnAchieves.org. We hope you have a great day. Thank you.